start, it's called Love is in the Air. It seems to be... Right. Oh no, Daring Dude cried. I'm trapped by this evil magician, and literally the only way to free me is if a sexy rainbow-made Pegasus made out with a cute, yet surprisingly intelligent librarian. If that doesn't happen, I will die forever! Rainbow Dash put down the book and stared at the words scrawled across the page, a frown creasing upon her brow. After what seemed like an eternity, she turned to her trusty friend, Twilight Sparkle. You know, she muttered, I think the writing of these books is really going downhill. Twilight fluttered her eyes up at Rainbow Dash as she lounged on. Oh, I don't know, Rainbow Dash, she breathed, scooting slightly closer. I think our weekly reading sessions are getting better and better. Shaking her head, Rainbow Dash prodded the open book in front of her. Come on, Twi. I mean, at least the early Daring Do books were printed. These look like they were quickly hoof-written, and instead of a beautiful cover of art, they're just crude stick figures. She slammed a book shut to reveal a hastily scribbled cover of Daring Do and You Might Be in Love with Your Best Friend, which features a charitably described as a drawing of a Pegasus and a unicorn bumping heads together. You know, I've got a good mind to complain to the publishers about lack of quality. No! Twilight snatched a book out of her hand and began to hug it a bit too tightly. It's an early copy, Dash. I don't want any pony to get in trouble for me having it. She gave her friend her most beaming, genuine smile, and slowly her friend's suspicious gaze abated. Right. Well, Rainbow Dash looked at the nearest clock. Nearly midday. She stifled a yawn. I think it's time for bed. Yes! Twilight leapt excitedly to her hooves, a look of giddy joy suddenly exploding across her face. Oh, Dash, you don't know how long I've waited for it! That is such a good idea! And without looking back, Twilight frantically bolted up the stairs. Rainbow Dash stared after Twilight for a few moments. Well, she finally mumbled, I guess Twilight was really, really tired. And with that, Rainbow Dash shrugged and trotted nonchalantly outside until the midday sun. Do you want me to continue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Do it. This is interesting.
Alright. She's not coming, is she? Oh, sorry, someone's talking. Finish.
Go on.
You want me to continue this crap?
Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
Right. She's not coming, is she? Twilight lounged back on her bed, her mane as crumpled as she was as she stared up at the ceiling. It had been nearly an hour since she had seen Rainbow Dash, an hour of eager anticipation that soon turned to puzzlement, and then despair as she realized she was going to be alone. I guess I misunderstood everything again. Spike rolled his eyes in an exaggerated fashion as he waddled across the room to throw open the curtains, letting the early afternoon sun stream into the room and reveal a slightly familiar Pegasus in the distance, snoozing lazily on the cloud. You think? He gently lifted Twilight's head to dust her pillow, then letting go, letting her head flop listlessly back. Twilight stared at Rainbow Dash with wide, watery eyes. She doesn't love me, does she, Spike? She's never going to love me. Silly, nerdy, Twilight Sparkle. A warm trickle started to tumble down her. Stupid, silly Twilight Sparkle. A pony as wonderful as Rainbow Dash could never love me, Spike. She's so energetic, so talented. What do I have? She let her forehead sprawl across the duvet. I'm just the princess's star pupil. Her musings were interrupted by a cloth thrown at her face. Stop wallowing in self-pity and just tell her, Spike snapped, pulling Twilight into a half-sitting position and attempting to spur her into motion. You don't need to keep pushing on at her with little hints that she'll never get. Joining the pony decathlon team didn't help. No, we don't need to buy a wooden spoon ever again. Just be honest, Twilight. You don't need any potions or tricks or magic spells. Yes, that's it! Twilight clapped her forehead together, her eyes shining with excitement. You're a genius, Spike! Spike wiped his brow. Thanks, Twilight. I knew you'd see sense. A magic bound, Twilight continued, hopping down from her bed as she started to scurry amongst the piles of ancient manuscripts piled around her bed. If Starswell won't come to the mountain, the mountain must come to Starswell. Spike choked on a mixture of horror and confusion. You're going to do what with who now? Twilight stared out of the window again, a soft sigh escaping her lips at the sight of a gently sleeping Rainbow Dash in the distance. Every day Rainbow Dash goes to sleep on a cloud. What if, Spike? What if I was that cloud? She grasped Spike hard by the shoulders, her face beaming with unrestrained enthusiasm. Then we would be sleeping together in each other's warm embrace. Oh, the bliss! He drew Spike into a quick hug as if imagining he was Rainbow Dash. And then, once we're done, I can reveal myself to Rainbow Dash, and she will realise that she loved me all along. I don't know, Twilight. Spike sucked his bottom lip in, eyes rigid with fear. It sounds like a really bad idea. I just can't put my finger on why. Don't worry, Spike, there's absolutely no way this can go wrong. Twilight gave a firm nod before continuing to search amongst the books. Trust me! Right. Shall I still continue?
Continue.
Yeah.
You got this far, you might as well
You don't
go.
have to ask. You're gonna have to do the whole story.
For fuck's sake. I don't even know if I'm halfway through the story or not. Okay, next. Okay, Spike, you know what you have to do. Spike gave a mute nod as he gripped a wand in his little claws, shaking slightly with nervous anticipation. Twilight had been a buzz of activity for the past 24 hours, rifling through what seemed like every book in the library at a breakneck speed, and creating a worrying amount of mess. He grimaced at the tip the library had become. Twilight didn't seem all that concerned as she perched proudly upon a stack of woolen books, peering periodically out of the window at the purple sky. Oh, Spike, it's nearly midday. At any moment, Dash will be flying about looking for a cloud, and I want to be that cloud. I'm going to cast a complex transmogrification spell on myself. I won't be able to turn myself back, so once I'm done, I'll float back down, and you'll tap me with that specially magic spell. Got it? Spike tapped the wand to his chest as if a compliment. I guess, Twilight stuttered out. But surely there's a better way. No, Spike, this is it. Twilight puffed her chest out. This is how I'm going to get Rainbow Dash to love me. I'm going to be a nymphocumulus. No, I'm going to be the cute. I'm going to have to stop you there, Twilight. No, just no. Fine. Twilight bristled as she raised her head. Wish me luck! With that, her horn flared into a cone of purple. He expanded, and glittering shower consumed her from the view. Spike flung one arm over his eyes to protect himself from the blazing light show. Twilight! He squeaked, frantic as the room suddenly began to shake and shudder. Twilight! Without warning, the purple glow ceased and all was still. Spike nervously uncovered his eyes and gasped in shock. Where there was once a purple unicorn, there was now a fluffy white cloud, floating peacefully in the air. You did it! What's it like? The cloud continued to bob up and down, silently. Oh, right. Clouds can't speak. Spike looked at the wand in his claw, unsure of whether to Twilight with it now to stop the madness. He reluctantly decided against it. There was no telling the amount of resentment directed at him that might cause. It was better to make sure the only person Twilight had to blame was herself. From outside, a familiar rainbow-streaked streak caught Spike's eye. That's your cue, Twilight, he said. Go! Get her? At that, the cloud slowly rose and floated through the library doors. Spike shook his head. It was going to be a long day. Oh god, there's more of this shit. Right.
Continue. I want the whole story.
Same here, come on.
Yeah, give
You
it.
got this far. You might as well continue.
You're not reading this. Right.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm reading it. You're not. Right. Twilight floated faster and faster out of the door. She had cast a rudimentary sentry spell to enable her to see and hear. But during her frantic rampage through the library, she had not been able to find any spells which would actually allow a cloud to speak. It was probably for the best, though. She didn't want to accidentally cry out in ecstasy and alert Rainbow Dash to her deception. Seriously, what the fuck? Nothing could have prepared her for the effects of the spell. She no longer felt solid. Instead, she felt a warm, fuzzy feeling, almost lightheaded as she drifted through the air. Faster and faster, there was the liberating freeness to the experience. It wasn't like the previous experience of flying. She was no longer trying to force herself up in the air. It was almost as if she was a part of the sky. Twilight let herself go, sighing inward with content, as she let herself roll lazily across the blue sky, climbing higher and higher as the wind drifted across her fluffy form. Though the magical haze of which she cast upon herself, she could keenly sense rainbow. If Twilight still had a heart, it would be racing with anticipation for this upcoming moment of pure bliss. But instead, she merely pulsed happily, unfurling wispy fronds of cloud to look more inviting to Rainbow Dash. Twilight would have given a squeal of utter delight as 4 perfect blue hooves touched down on her, but thankfully she had no voice to speak with. It was Rainbow Dash, treading lightly on Twilight's cloud body to get a comfortable place to rest before snuggling down. Rainbow Dash's body was soft and warm. Twilight almost lost herself in the bliss at that moment. Perfect feeling of Rainbow Dash pressing against her, engulfed in the unknowing but loving hug. Oh, Rainbow Dash! Twilight wanted to cry as if she felt herself throbbing with uncontrollable joy at the very closeness of this wonderful pony. Rainbow Dash's head flopped down onto the cloud, and Twilight pressed her fluffy form into a loving nuzzle. She didn't even mind when a trickle of drool spilled out of Rainbow Dash's mouth. Together they drifted across the sky, Twilight gently rocking Rainbow Dash from side to side, tenderly brushing her wisps fondly across her belly. Once Rainbow Dash was settled, Twilight mused, she could move, loving her friend even more tenderly. All she needed was time. Hey, Rainbow Dash, you lazy old pony, snap to it! Rainbow Dash woke with a start, blinking in confusion at the voice drawing at her from far below. She gave a scowl. Somehow she had floated over the Sweet Apple Acres and gained the attention of one pony who could never be happy to see Rainbow Dash get her well-deserved rest. What do you want, Applejack? She shouted down, stomping on her cloud bed in annoyance. Twilight gave a start as her blissful embrace was rudely interrupted with a hoof to her cloud face. Rainbow Dash shook her hoof up at Rainbow Dash. Y'all being lazy while us hard-working ponies are sweating, growing food for y'all. Be useful for once, Dash, and fill up the water barrel with your cloud. She pointed at an empty water barrel that sat next to the dissipated something outhouse. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes in exaggerated fashion. Fine, Applejack, she exclaimed haughtily. But you owe me one, right? She grasped at the side of the cloud and started to maneuver it downwards. For some strange reason, it wanted to float in the opposite direction, as if it was struggling against her. But Rainbow Dash wasn't one to be beaten by a cloud. Flaring her wings, she started to beat broadly, powerful strokes, as she pushed the cloud towards the water barrow. No, Rainbow Dash, no! Twilight tried to scream out, but the lack of any lungs thwarted her attempts at warning her friend. Despite her attempts to escape, Rainbow Dash was just too strong a flyer, and she found herself pulled down towards the ground. She quickly glanced about in a desperate hope that Spike was nearby, ready to leap out and save her. Her hopes were in vain. This won't take a minute, Applejack. Fastest rain cloud pony in the West. Rainbow Dash positioned the cloud directly above the barrel and planted her hooves firmly at each corner. You've just got to know how to treat a cloud right. She gave a wink and then began to leap up and down on the cloud at a dizzying pace. Almost immediately, the cloud gave what sounded like a squeal of thunder, and a shower of water droplets began to tumble from it. Twilight cried in confusion as she felt her friend Rainbow Dash's hooves pounding against her very soul again and again. She felt even fuzzier as part of her body began to condense into rain and splash into the bucket, rendering her in two. It was like a sensation of forever falling, intangible hooves desperately trying to grasp onto something, but instead, finding only the cruel stamping of Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash continued to tread on the cloud until it got smaller and smaller, its fluffy body compacting into the rain until finally the last of the cloud stuff vanished with a... Wiping her forehead, she gave a quick flourish in the air and landed on the ground next to the now full water barrel with a grin on her face. Bet you ain't never seen anything so fast. Bet I've never seen such a big show-off. Applejack shook her head and started as she trotted away. Thanks, Rainbow Dash, but make sure the Weather Patrol keeps the barrel full in the first place. I've got a busy farm to run. As Applejack turned away, Rainbow Dash stuck her tongue out at her departing friend. I don't tell you how to do your job. Don't tell me how to do mine, she mumbled under her breath, wiping her forehead again. Whew! Turning that cloud into rain was sure first to work. I bet Applejack won't mind me grabbing a quick drink. Twilight awoke with a start, suddenly slamming it back into consciousness as the brakes on the cart had suddenly been pulled. Fighting off the momentary distortion, she took stock of her surroundings. She was trapped. Her body felt so sluggish and heavy, all of her thoughts sloshing around in her head. Underwater! She exclaimed internally, feeling around the sides of the barrel with her new aquatic form. There was no way to move or speak. She would be stuck until Spike came to rescue her. She felt a shadow loom above her, a pair of blue lips leaning in closer to the barrel, descending towards her. Oh, Rainbow Dash, you do love me, Twilight cried out as Rainbow Dash's head bobbed into view. That perfect mouth ready to touch the surface of the water. Yes! Kiss me, Rainbow Dash, kiss me! Rainbow Dash, Rainbow Dash! Spike finally waddled over the last hilltop, squeezing as he sought to catch his breath, touching the wand as if his life depended on it. He had given chase as soon as Twilight had floated off with Rainbow Dash, but his tiny dragon legs had rendered him unable to catch up to the pair. He watched from a distance as Twilight was turned to rain. Whatever you do, don't touch the water in that barrel. It's really Twilight Sparkle. Spike half leapt at the barrel, pushing the wand into its depths. Nothing happened. He peered into the barrel. It was empty. Rainbow Dash lounged beside the barrel, letting loose a loud burp as she patted her stomach guiltily. I can't believe what a first I worked up. What was that about, Twilight? Spike stared at Rainbow Dash for a moment, and then he shook his head. Don't worry, I think she'll find a way out. And that is the end! I'm not reading.
Aha.